All right, let's talk some J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, the news comes out. With the torn meniscus, he's going to miss all of his rookie season. For the second straight year, actually, a top 10 quarterback misses a majority of his first year in the NFL. Anthony Richardson last year was in and out of a couple games in September, but he was out for a large portion of his rookie season. J.J. got some camp action, but same thing for him. The thing with both of those quarterbacks that I think is a huge deal, they both have offensive minds as their head coach. The best case scenario for the Colts would be Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson together for the next decade plus. Same thing with the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell and J.J. McCarthy. I have a little bit more faith in Kevin O'Connell than I do Shane Steichen, just because Kevin O'Connell has shown that he can make lesser than quarterbacks look good on a week-by-week basis. Last year we saw it with Josh Dobbs for a little bit. Nick Mullins, I think, had a 400-yard game last season. But tough situation nevertheless. The Vikings were kind of a mixed bag. They lost some pretty big pieces of the team, such as Danielle Hunter. They did bring in Aaron Jones. You got Jonathan Greenard, Andrew Van Ginkel. Still Brian Flores calling the defense. So there were some bright things to look at with the Vikings. If Kevin O'Connell could get JJ clicking right away, the Vikings seemed like maybe they could be a wild card team. The thing is, there's going to be some Viking fans that still think that is a realistic situation because of who they have as their backup, Sam Darnold. And I'm not happy. I like JJ. I was looking forward to seeing him play. I thought he was going to do well. But I've gotten so sick of the Sam Darnold glazing that occurs because he had two very unfortunate situations to start his career. First in New York with Adam Gase, and then with Matt Rule in Carolina. He goes to San Francisco last year, backs up Brock Purdy. This year he's with Kevin O'Connell. Well, guess what? He's done. It's Sam Darnold's job. They're not going to bring anyone else in. The only quarterback available right now is Ryan Tannehill. Would they trade for another mid-level backup similar to what they did last year with Josh Dobbs? Possibly, maybe. Wouldn't be that surprising. The Steelers have really three capable quarterbacks. But this is it for him. There's no more excuses. He got a year to learn under Kyle Shanahan. This year he gets Kevin O'Connell, who isn't as good as Kyle Shanahan, but still one of the top offensive minds in the game. He has Justin Jefferson, arguably the best wide receiver in the game. It's him or Tyreek, pick your poison. You get Jordan Addison. You get TJ Hawkinson when he comes back. You have a pretty good offensive line. You have a good running scheme. Aaron Jones probably going to try and take that running game to a new level. It's been inconsistent because you've had lesser than guys back there. The defense, like I said, Brian Flores is calling it. It's going to be legit. The Vikings making the playoffs, that's still as realistic as I would say it was with J.J. McCarthy. I don't see it in Sam Darnold. I just don't. Coming out of USC, he was the prodigy. He was the one. It didn't work. And was that all his fault? Definitely not. But I am so sick of the excuses for him, and I just don't see it working out for the Vikings. Would I be super shocked if it did? No. But for him, you can't ask for a better situation right now. You're in a one-year deal making $10 million. The team has a franchise quarterback. They're not going to franchise tag you. They're not going to play games with you. If you go out and throw for 4,000 yards, you go 9-8 or better as a starter, you maybe make the Pro Bowl as an alternate, you're going to get paid a lot of money because people see the traits that Sam Darnold possesses. He's an above-average athlete. He has definitely an above-average arm. The decision-making, the injuries, and just the overall leadership seems to be lacking. We all know the clip. I'm seeing ghosts out there. The game moved too fast for him. He has a chance to rewrite history and go out, have a stellar year, and get paid. You couldn't ask for a better situation if you're Sam Darnold. Will it happen? Like I said, I don't think so. But J.J. McCarthy, it stinks. This was really the first major injury that we've seen. We've been pretty clean. I'm going to knock on wood right now just because I don't like seeing injuries. I like seeing all 32 teams at their best, even the teams that rival my favorites, just because, I don't know, I want to see everyone at their best. I want to see the highest level of football possible. JJ McCarthy goes down. I do think that he was going to be the day one starter. I was going to advocate for him to be the day one starter, but that's not the case. So now you roll with Sam Darnold. Like I said, the best case scenario, it's possible, and the ceiling is pretty high. If Sam Darnold doesn't work out, which is also very plausible, we're looking at Jaron Hall. We're looking at Nick Mullins, and then we start to get into adding another name into the room, whether that be Ryan Tannehill or someone else. Sam Darnold's going to be given a pretty long leash, though, I think. Kevin O'Connell now, entering his third season, first year, insane, above average. Second season, lesser than, but you lose your MVP caliber quarterback in Kirk Cousins. This year, once again, without your quarterback, how much leeway does he get? The Vikings could approach this in one of two ways. I saw Dan Orlovsky already advocate for him being extended. Not that extensions mean too much for a coach. There are a large portion of owners who do not care about the buyout. You can extend a coach and then get fired the very next offseason. We saw it with Cliff Kingsbury, most recently with the Cardinals. That's one way to go. Or you kind of just scrap this year and say, hey, do the best you can. You get your guy next season. It is interesting, though, how poorly things, at least in current state, have worked out for all parties involved with the Kirk Cousins thing. The Falcons, Michael Penix, probably could start sooner rather than later. Falcons could have just gone with him initially. The Vikings, they lose their prospective franchise quarterback. Kirk Cousins, he signs with Atlanta, but finds out that they don't really want him, at least in the long term. They threw him a bag of money, but they're planning on getting rid of him in 1 to 2 years realistically. How much better would the Vikings have been if they just kept Kirk Cousins? A Kirk Cousins who, yeah, he's getting up there in age. Yeah, there's some limits to his game. But he was on his way to the MVP last year. If everything stayed on course, which it seemed to be doing, which is crazy to think because the Vikings started off very poorly last year, but you beat the 49ers, who for pretty much all the regular season up till Christmas were viewed as the best team in the NFL. Kirk Cousins beat them. Kirk Cousins beat that defense. Kirk Cousins was going to be the MVP. Another year with Kevin O'Connell. He hasn't had a consistent voice in his head for a majority of his career. It's been the Shanahans. It's been all over the place. Kubiaks, everybody. He gets to stay with Kevin O'Connell. Jay Jettas comes back healthy. TJ Hawkinson comes back healthy. You add Aaron Jones. Jordan Addison develops another. You have to wonder, would the Vikings have been better off keeping Kirk Cousins? And that is an unanswerable question because guess what? JJ disappears for the rest of the year. And 2 years from now, he has the Vikings winning the North. JJ's a Pro Bowl quarterback. Obviously, going with the young kid who probably has a little bit of a higher ceiling than Kirk was the right move. But in terms of the way things have worked out, at least in the immediate aftermath, it's kind of tough for all parties involved. Makes you think. But tough blow for JJ McCarthy. I'm sure the Vikings are going to be talked about a little bit less right now, but that also can be a recipe for success. We saw it last year with the Texans. Teams who aren't talked about, there's lesser pressure, and that can bode well for them. The more 1 o'clock games, the better, because it creates a consistent schedule for the coach to keep everyone in the program. No pressures, not a lot of eyeballs. Can Sam Darnold finally do it? I don't think so. There are definitely some people who do.